The mayor's not here.
Let me make a motion. Sure. Go for it. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Doug Welton as mayor pro tem for today.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, welcome to City Council meeting. Glad to see you all here today. We have a short agenda, so hopefully it won't be too long. We'd like to start off with a prayer by Councilman Hewlett, and then if there are no scouts, then Councilman Christensen will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before you this day, we're thankful for all the blessings we have. We're thankful that we have the opportunity to live in Payson, and for all the volunteers, and for our city employees, and please bless all of them. And we're thankful that we've had some moisture but without floods, and help us to, as we come election times, that the citizens will go out and vote. And we're thankful for this great city, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
The audience, please rise. Please pledge allegiance with me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first off, we would like to look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for October the 3rd. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are now into our public forum session. Public forum is a time that the audience, anybody in the public, can come and address the council and staff. If it's an item that's on the agenda, we ask that you wait until we get to that section of the agenda and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less if possible. Is there anyone that would like to come address the council? Okay, seeing no one, we will move on to staff reports and council reports.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to introduce our newest employee, Nestor Gallo. He's our development engineer, so this is him, and he's already been a big, awesome help to us in getting things organized, and we'll obviously be bringing a lot of ordinance updates and that to you once he digs through there. But yeah, I just wanted to introduce him.
Welcome, Nestor.
Welcome.
And I can't believe that he got the room with the window.
Nestor? Nestor or Lester?
Yes.
Nestor with an N. Okay. Welcome.
I'm happy to meet you, and I'm looking forward to serve all of you at the community.
Fantastic. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have any water for us, Travis?
Any water?
Yeah.
Water report.
Council report?
No, I was gonna skip that. That was my staff report.
Oh.
But since you asked, no. Obviously, we weathered the big storms. We got over 3.5 inches of water in October already, which was huge. But we ended up not getting any flooding into the city, so that was good. And Log Catch did its job with the county and that, and so I don't know. We made a lot of sandbags that we're now getting rid of. So, but you know,
Yeah, they're all going to fill the storm drains?
well, hopefully not, but yes, they will degrade over time, so hopefully people put them in a place where it won't cause us more problems later. But,
Sure.
but yeah, we did good. You know, all the employees rallied and we got a lot of stuff cleaned up as much. We cleaned up the Dry Creek Channel and tried to keep it flowing just so we didn't have any backups there. But I think overall, between the residents and the the staff and that, it weathered it pretty well for as much rain as we had. So
Yeah.
The water year's doing good so far.
yeah, what did Dave say?
Well, last week when I checked it, it was 643%.
Yeah, we're probably 500 something now.
Well, let's keep it coming. We're in a drought, so.
Mayor, council, and public, I don't have much, but and I appreciate Nestor, but he did step out. He did join us today at the Wilson School Leaders Kickball Tournament, the leaders of the school versus various employees. So I'd like to thank those employees and leaders from various departments that came and joined in that event.
How did it go?
It went great. We lost by 1. We were being a little lenient in the first few innings, and then the competitive spirit kicked in, and that was probably all my fault. So just we're just gearing up. We're just finishing up some of our early fall sports. Tackle football, we have a little bit more to go, and then flag football is going on right now. But we are taking registrations for youth volleyball and youth wrestling, as well as adult volleyball and adult basketball right now, and that will start the 1st of November for those indoor sports. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Just 2 reminders for the city council. So we have a tour of the apartments at the depot on Monday. And so if you checked your emails, you saw that. But either you meet on site at 4 o'clock, meet here before that, we can all carpool down. It's a great opportunity that they're willing to extend that invitation. They actually have the owners of the project that will be in attendance that day. And so we wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity for the mayor and the city council to meet the owners of that project. So they're really excited to be in Payson. I'm really excited to see the finished product. So, but it is a construction zone, so take that into consideration with your attire. And then the other one is just a reminder for the joint work session with the Planning Commission next Wednesday, starting at 6 o'clock. So we will have the lead consultants for the strategic plan, general plan, and master plans that will be in town that day. They do want to give a very thorough and comprehensive update to the City Council and to the Planning Commission on the general plan. And so we've carved out an hour there that they can give a presentation and answer any questions that you may have, or take note of any concerns that you want them to address as they continue through this update process. So mark those on your calendar, plan to attend. If you need anything in preparation of either of those, let me know, and we'll try to make those arrangements.
Thank you. Any other staff?
Sarah wants me to do this, so I don't know if I have all the information, but we have some representatives from Cassell here, Alan and Scott. And they had a little competition where we put in for a project. The project was with the library, right, Sarah? Was it for specific?
It was the Million Penny Project.
The Million Penny Project, and we put that in, and then all the Cassell users could vote on the projects to see who had the best project from all the Cassell users. And we took 3rd place, and so they came and they had a $1,000 check to go towards the library. So we'd like to invite Alan or Scott to come up from Cassell and maybe tell a little bit of more detail, because I don't have the greatest detail. And then we'd like to take a few pictures with.
And our librarian should come up for a picture.
Yep.
When we take
And
that.
Donna's here as well.
Well, Mayor and Council, we're grateful to be here. Every year over the last couple of years, we do a commitment to community project. And again, we have submissions with all of our customers, and they have the opportunity to submit their projects for the vote of the other customers. We have over 1,200 customers around the country that use our software. And so we narrowed it down, and the vote came where you guys finished in 3rd place. There was a food bank that finished in 1st place from Washington, and then Syracuse City, they were doing a disabled kids park. They took 2nd place. But it's our 40th year being in business with the software company, and so 1978 was a long time ago. But I don't think they sat here with those laptops in 1978.
No, but these chairs were here.
Those chairs, yeah, that may be true. So, but we're grateful for our relationship with Payson City, and we've had it a long time, and we consider Payson a great friend and a partner in this, and we're grateful to present you guys with this $1,000 check for the library.
Yeah, can we have the Lions Club come up too for pictures?
Yes, please.
They were part of this
Sarah was the one who submitted it.
Oh, that's where we got hit.
I have to take it. I don't know you want to start.
Nice try.
Hopefully we'll stay on
My first bite on Sarah.
She gets the check.
Act like you like each other. There we go.
You're good.
One more. I think
Denise, you need to get up here in this picture.
Yes.
Did
Someone take it with Debbie. She's my first vice president, so I will. I will call you out, Denise.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. I read all those other reports.
Keep this, but Sarah's got the real.
This one's cooler.
Can't get that one in the tube of the bag, so.
Thank you, Ryan.
You always come next time.
Wow.
Okay, wish all of our public forums involved receiving money. Any other staff? Okay, we'll move on to council. Where are we gonna start? Councilman, councilwoman?
I just wanted to thank all the staff who takes my calls many times different. I wonder if you're even to sleep when I call sometimes. But yeah, thank you guys for taking care of the things when I call you and ask you about different things. You're right there, you answer it, and you take care of it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Carter?
I don't have anything to report. Along with Teresa, I want to thank everyone for the hard work that they do. I have been called a number of times concerning trailers parked in the street and other things that maybe we need to address with the season coming up and get to those residents along with junk. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
I just have a couple of things. One is, I drove on the road by the hospital today. It's very, very nice. It's a very good thing that we did as a city, and it also shows goodwill to the hospital. So, and then the last thing is, how are we coming on a volunteer night? We need to make sure that's on the top of our agenda to have a night and thank all our volunteers for everything, all across all the different. And I forgot the Lions Club last time, but that was one of them too. So let's keep moving forward on thanking our volunteers and volunteer night.
Do you have any idea when you want to do that?
As soon as we can, Janine maybe can put something together and.
Okay.
I think I'm good. I don't have anything to share, just other than thanks. I know I've stopped and talked to a couple of police officers about issues as well, and they're taking care of them for me, and I appreciate that. So.
Okay. And I just like to echo everyone else's comments. Staff has been always exceptional and quick to respond to any questions or concerns, even if it's pulling out the storm drain maps and saying, hey, this is what we have. I still appreciate the time that you sat down to work with me. Also, Brian, Councilman Hewlett mentioned it earlier, voting ballots are coming out probably today or tomorrow, so I would encourage all the residents to keep an eye out for the ballots. That gives you plenty of time where they're mailed that you can go and do some research and make an informed decision. I'm a big believer in being involved. Also, we received a letter from a resident concerning recycling, and I think he had a good point. We've worked so hard to make sure that our residents know of the opt-out period, and we really try to be transparent that way, but I think we might want to take some time to talk about the benefits of recycling to our landfill and what it does to benefit the city. We're really big about telling people how to get out, but we don't talk enough about the benefits of recycling. And I think that's all that I have. Okay, do we have any scouts show up before we move on? No scouts? All right. Okay, action item D, public hearing ordinance regarding updates to impact fee facilities plan and impact fee analysis for water and parks and recreation.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, sir?
our consultant is going to be here, but we thought it'd be closer to 6:30, so maybe we can amend the agenda and do number 2 and 3, and then hopefully he'll be here.
Okay, we need to amend the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we amend the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we'll amend the agenda and move on to action item D, which is the resolution. It's a cooperative agreement between the Utah Department of Transportation and Payson City regarding SR 178, the 100 South Corridor. Travis?
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, this is an agreement that we talked about with UDOT so that we can eventually have bike lanes on 8 South and kind of restrict some parking where everyone does their for sale vehicles down there by Payson fruit growers, and also to kind of reserve a spot, so to call it, for the 930 West signal light when that does warrant it. So that's kind of what this agreement kind of details out, to give you the short version. So that's, I'll admit, we got it a few months ago and I totally forgot about it, and so did Dave. All of a sudden we got an email from UDOT and I was like, oh, that's my bad, I forgot. But so that's just what we're trying to do, is just kind of lock up an agreement with them so that when those things do happen, that we've all agreed that that's what we both were gonna have happen. So, and obviously it's a UDOT road, so they do control when and, you know, how that happens, but this was a step for us to get that, to kind of get some stuff we wanted in there with it, so.
Okay. Okay, this is a public hearing. If you'd like to, sorry, I'm on the wrong one, I'm still on the first one. Okay, any council discussion? Any comments, concerns? Seems pretty straightforward. All right.
Is this part of that? I know at one point in time they were talking about running storm drain lines through that road and we're having problems with that. Does this resolve that?
We had already done a previous agreement with that to get this, the storm drain is now actually our responsibility in that road, because we some of our storm drain feeds into it also, and rather than try to complicate having both entities fight over who's gonna do what in it, we took over the storm drain in it, so.
Okay.
So yeah, that is.
That's fine. I'm just trying to put my
Yeah,
memory
in the
back
last
into
yeah,
sequential.
3 months or so?
Yeah.
It's pretty recent, right?
It's been not too long ago.
Okay.
We did do that. Though.
Okay.
Can we put banners on over our road if we want to?
We can do it on our roads anytime you want.
I understand that. There's a few cities that have banners grandfathered into their towns, and they can get some good
Ask me that
information out.
question off the public record to know.
Okay. All righty.
Does that mean we have to get it done before we approve this?
No.
It means it's probably not gonna happen, but it means.
Yeah, I could give you another answer, but I don't want to do it when the story comes.
Fair enough. Okay, any other council discussion, questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 1017-2018, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the Utah Department of Transportation and Payson City to preserve the corridor and establish a traffic signal and access control plan along the entire length of SR 178 from I-15 to SR 198.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's right. It's the benefit of being pro tem is I don't have all the responsibilities and I get a vote. Okay, motion passes. Moving on to action item 3, resolution declaring surplus property.
Mayor and Council, let me just explain a little bit about this. We've been, several years ago, we started the revolving loan fund for vehicles, and we try to replace those and keep our vehicles new. We have some cities that have started turning those in on a yearly basis because you get the state bid to purchase those, and if you turn them back when they're still under warranty and not have many miles, a lot of times you can break even, so you drive it for a year and you can sell it for as much or more than you bought it for. And so we don't have a lot of staff to do this full time, but we wanted to kind of try it. And if we do this as part of our budget discussion and the council approves that during the budget we can dispose of so many vehicles, then we wouldn't have to come and declare a surplus because it's part of the budget. This was not the case, but we have some vehicles here that we'd like to have the council declare surplus so that we can replace that with a newer model and sell the ones that we have. These are all, looks like they're all 2017 vehicles. It looks like it looks like it's a promising thing, but we want to test it. And then if this works, which I think it will, then when we start budget discussions the first year, we'll talk about which vehicles we should get on this program. So because it was not part of the budget last year that was approved, we're asking the council declare these 5 vehicles surplus, and our intent is to replace those vehicles and sell these vehicles to pay for what we have.
So is there any guarantee on the price? Like if somebody lowballs us and we put it up, are we obligated to sell it?
There's not a guarantee. We're not obligated to sell if we don't want to, if we don't get the price.
So if we don't get the price we want, we can just...
Correct.
Okay.
So how are we gonna sell it?
We usually put them on like KSL.com and put a minimum price and see what we get on that. For instance, like the first one, we kind of moved forward, not realizing that we had to declare a surplus, and we purchased that to the wastewater. We purchased that for $37,700 last year, and I think we've got an offer to buy it for $44,000. And so we think it's a good thing. Some cities are starting to do that, and it saves taxpayer dollars, and then it saves on maintenance because you're having the newer vehicles, you don't have to do a lot of maintenance on them. And then you sell them when they don't have a lot of miles and they're still in good shape. And so
This is a similar program that the police officers do right now, correct?
right now, the police officers are on
They're on
a
a
lease
lease
purchase. They
program.
turn their leases in. If this starts to work, we could probably move the police into where we're not leasing them, but purchasing them and then turning them back in. So it's just up to you. If you allow us to do that, that's what we want to try to do.
I like to do that, but it'd just be good, I think, just come back with a report and say how we did on it at some point in time.
Yeah, and we'll have that discussion through the budget meetings too, how this works and if we want to proceed further.
Yeah, we're not losing money. I don't have a problem. Saves money.
Do we need a motion?
Yes,
Yeah,
motion.
we need to adopt the resolution.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, if there's no discussion, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 10/17/2018, I guess, 2, declaring the listed property as surplus property for sale.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote, starting with Councilwoman Hyatt, sorry.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Do we have our impact facilities?
So Mayor and Council, we didn't think the council meeting would go this quickly, so we told our consultant to be here like at 6:30, 6:40, so I tried to call him and I didn't get a hold of him, so hopefully, I guess he'll make it. We probably will be, and then I'll have to take him out to dinner or something. But we'll just start with the Parks and Recreation one, so, I can go to any slide if you have questions, but the main one is probably, that slide is what the, so, for a single family residence, it's, what is it, 2925?
So while you're doing that, Travis, we've been through all this before, we were just doing a little bit of tweaking.
So yeah, we made some changes, obviously, to make sure that the costs in both of them, both the water and the Parks and Rec. I didn't think it was gonna be a big deal. We got all the changes done, staffs went through it multiple times and that, so I don't know if you have any questions. I know we've sent them to Deanne with the Home Builders Association, so I think we're finally where we should be, I hope, so. But, just, I don't know if you guys had any questions on that we needed to answer, or.
Well, can we do like a brief overview for anybody who's watching and any residents on what we're covering, what the plan is?
So, just, I guess, brief overview is on, obviously, impact fees. The state has changed the law, so you can, you can only keep those impact fees. You have to spend them within 6 years, or you have to return them to the developers and those that paid them. And so, you obviously have to update your facilities plan so that you have current projects in there, because you can only spend impact fees on eligible projects that are only for, future growth. You can't do existing deficiencies or anything with that money, so, obviously, we went through and, we went through projects and that for all the impact fees that are eligible on these, and put those in there so that when, developers do develop, we get those impact fees to pay for those improvements, so that it's not borne all by the residents that are already here and the businesses, so. Obviously, they did go up some, because, some of the projects we have to do are kind of obviously pretty expensive, even though, on the water side, we have 2 projects that could be anywhere from $4 to $5 million just to provide, pressure irrigation to areas of the city that we've had problems with. And in the Parks and Rec, that one we just hadn't done for quite a while, so that's why it was needing updated. And then we will update all these again with our master plans with some of the other projects that'll come in due to those. But in order to be able to, charge these impact fees, we have to have these adopted and approved to be able to use those monies for those projects. So that's kind of a brief overview. Let's do a more detailed.
So we adopted all but 2 of them, is that correct? Already?
Yeah, we've already done the public safety one a while back, and we had previously done the water one too. But we had to add some projects in there so that they were eligible.
So today we're looking at water and
then Parks and Recreation.
Okay, could you just tell us how much it's gonna change on both those from what it was previously?
While he's finding that, Mayor and Council, there were enough changes and tweaks on this that we did go through the public hearing process once before. We thought we ought to open it up to the public again, so have comment. And talking to the consultant.
So the last impact fee was at $2,800, and this is now at $2,925 through inventory and properties. We met with Deanne as well and Home Builders. We had a representative from Corey's as well there. That was about 4 months ago. I think that was in July. And then we've updated it the best we can. We've discussed just different questions over the phone, and it got to this point now that we feel pretty comfortable with it. We're showing the future projects and the potential of those, and depending on how growth comes, then we can attack those.
Okay.
And it is a public forum as well, so I mean that's for you.
Do we need to-
if there's questions.
We will need to open public hearing.
Okay. Okay, we'll do that in the conversation. Okay, do we need to make a motion to open public forum? Okay, motion to open public forum.
Motion that we open it up for public forum on this. Hearing.
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Public forum, come up and state your name at the microphone.
Good evening, my name's Deanne Hewish from Utah Valley Home Builders Association, and it's nice to be back. I was looking forward to hearing her explanation through all this too, as you were. And yes, impact fees are to bring the new resident up to the same level of service, so that LOS is all important when it comes to impact fees. And then they become your resident, and then they start paying their utility fees and their park fees, just like everybody else. And so we are fully aware of that. We want us to pay our fair share. The builders and developers, we met back in May actually with some of the city staff, and it was a great conversation. We went through the water and the sewer and the Parks and Rec. The Parks and Rec one was the one that we had the most concern with, and it's because it wasn't completed in a very good way. I don't know how else to say that. And so it came from our recommendation of the home builders that the inventory of the parks be added. Now you have to know that by doing that, we knew that was going to raise your impact fee, but it wasn't complete. So every time you have a new IFFP, your impact fee facility plan, your IFA impact fee analysis, you build on those. You know, and then years down the road, you're still using those as your basis. And so I don't know how many times I told you guys, get an inventory. And the reason why is because those pavilions, those restrooms, the playgrounds, whatever it is. So it was done, and it was added. I think it was September. Travis sent it to me, and we went through those, and it was pretty. It just stood right out that these were estimates because every single park had exactly the same number. It did for land value. It did for everything. And so my question is, you know, you have to use real costs to have an impact fee facility plan. So this is something that, and I actually brought some copies of like Lehigh and Provo. All of the cities, they always use historical costs. And that's where I still kind of have a hang up. If you're going to be moving to this value level of service, and other cities call it investment per home, whatever you call it, it's pretty new. It's not defined in the Impact Fee Act because it is new. It's not. Actually, we think sometimes it has some great pros to it, because then you're going to say, you know, we have a water park, it costs this much, whatever, and not just acreage. But if you don't have those historical costs, this is what 3 attorneys told me, and I put it down into one sentence here. Gifted, donated, or grant-related land and amenities should not be included in the impact fee calculation. The city should define the level of service based on dollar investment into the parks, amenities, and trail facilities. Payson IFFP is using an estimate of what today's values may be. No city in Utah County uses estimates in the calculation. They just don't. The across-the-board land value of $47,000 per acre may be great, it may be good. I don't know, but it's not real. And I think it's maybe, I hate to even say this, but you should be looking at acreage again for your level of service. If you don't know what those costs are, I don't know how you can impose them. And be transparent of what your level of service impact is to the community when you move in. The first draft that happened was at $2,800 when I insisted that you put the inventory in. I knew it was going to go up, and it did. It went to $2,925. It's not a huge amount, you know, comparable to other cities. Comparing to other cities really isn't relevant because they're not Payson. You have to know what you have. And by the way, you guys have a large level of service of acreage. You really do. It's really commendatory, you know, that you have that for your residents. As for the water one, when you get to that too, when you say that, you know, it's based on estimates too. I'm not going to contend that. I don't know how you don't know what the numbers are, but they don't. Proportionate share was the second thing. When the impact fees do pass, and as they are now, as they already are in place, when the projects are completed in those 6 years, you should be looking at your real costs again and readjusting. If it needs to go up, it needs to go up, and if it goes down, you should be reimbursing or whatever it takes on those. But that was just my comment. If you have any questions. we did appreciate, the city staff, Sarah and Dave always, and Carl's been great, keeping me in the loop.
So a question for you, so, I know, I can see that you aren't pleased with what it is right now. Are you okay with it though, to move forward, to do another one, or?
You know, the bottom line is that we tried to be fair and said, you know, this isn't a good IFFP. It's just not. And we had about 12 things that we asked to be addressed. All of them were addressed, except for the ones that would help us. And so I found that difficult because, you know, we're saying add your inventory, and I knew it was going to add because it has to add. And also, you know, the first one, I wasn't sure, maybe it was in there. Maybe it just wasn't in, you know, figure A or appendix A, you know, maybe it was already using that calculation. But you can't come up with a calculation based on numbers if you don't have numbers. And so then I realized, okay, they're estimating these numbers, and then when they added the inventory, of course it went up. And so, are we happy? I hate to have it keep dragging out, especially for Mayor Bill, he's awesome, and for Travis, poor Travis. It's been painful, it's been a long time. I just wish that they would have addressed my concerns along the way. And it's mainly that one concern, is real cost, historical cost.
So you say historical cost, how do you define historical cost?
What did the citizens, what did the city pay for that park? What did they pay for that pavilion? What did they pay? What's the historical cost? What did it cost?
And then do you take into inflation, like if you bought the land 60 years ago, or is it, no? Okay.
And that's why you may want to consider going back to acreage. I don't know, it's up to you, but it would be more fair and transparent.
Okay.
So how would you calculate it on some of these subdivisions? They get density bonuses and stuff to put parks in. How would you even calculate the cost of that? Because the city didn't really do it, but it's part of the cost of doing business.
Exactly, and that's in lieu of those fees. And so if you actually do get to count those, because that was a cost. So if you pay cash, or if it was, if it was in lieu of a fee, so for density, yes, you count it. But you don't count it, and I think you have some of those parks. I think Byron Bashley did some of those, and so they're counted. But they have a value to them. You know what that is at that year of what happened. And if it's gifted, no, you can't. And so, if, you know, historically, you're looking, you know, back at the pioneer times, where did this land come from? And so today you're using, because you're going to this new value level of service, you're trying to put today's value to it. Well, and that's why I brought up Provo and Lehigh, is because they're moving to this too. They don't call it value, but it's the same thing. But they exclude anything that was not paid with cash or in lieu of those gifts. That it's gifted, they do not put it into the equation. American Fork also. I think you're the only 4 I know of that have done that, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
One other question, just for me, because I don't fully understand all the ins and outs. So impact fees are for future growth, right?
It's for the buy-in of that level of service for that new resident.
Oh, okay.
Well, and to keep the same level of service in the
Yes.
future.
So it's the buy-in and to maintain.
Yeah, into that same level of service.
Impact that that development has, as you, if you will, average it in.
So it's not solely for new parks, it's
No, it's to
the
keep the
buy-in.
same level of service. So,
Okay.
and that's why it gets tricky, because you're moving from acreage, which is very easy to calculate, and you're moving over to this new value. And so you have to put a dollar amount to it, and they are, but it should be historical dollars, what they actually paid. And with impact fee, it isn't like Travis said, it isn't to make a new level of standard or to create any kind of new service. It's to keep that same level of service that all your citizens already have.
Well, so I keep coming back to the pressurized irrigation because I know it's one of concern, you know. we put our pressurized irrigation in, one of the first in the state to ever do it. And we've got new development coming in, and so in order to handle that load, they've got to bring that service to them as well. So do they account for all, I mean, that, we got the development over on the east side is the one I'm thinking about, and that's the high dollar one to bring the water line all the way down. I mean, we can't assess that impact to just them because it's,
This is where your engineering comes into play, so we know how much dollars was put into that. But your impact fee is, meshed together. You have culinary with your PI together in your impact fee. They're not separate. Usually they're separate. Yours is together, which is fine, but different.
Is there any downside to it? I mean, difference,
A lot of work for Sarah, because now she's gonna have to keep track of all those dollars of what went where, yeah.
She doesn't have enough to do already.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're still in public forum. Any other questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, motion to close public forum. Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, council discussion. Thoughts, concerns? Okay, from our legal.
I just
Oh.
have a question. So like when we hook in, when people hook in, they have the water impact fee and then they have a recreational fee too?
And public safety, and there's quite a few.
So what does that all add up to when you have like one house?
I want to say ours is around 19 or 20,000, I don't know the exact number, but I know with talking to even like Chief Bishop and that, Salem and everyone is higher than what we are.
I was
So,
just wondering why.
but yeah, we are not as high as our surrounding
Why
cities.
is that?
So. It, like Deanne kind of said, it's all based on your city and what your studies show, so, if you put in enough projects that are impact fee eligible, obviously your impact fees are gonna go up. And so it just depends on what your level of service is and what you're trying to do with that money, so that's what drives it. So, the more projects you have, the more the fee goes up, so.
Okay, any other, can we either
how
consult
often
the
do we
legal department
reassess
here?
these?
Every 6 years?
Should be.
When was the last time we did ours?
No, it depends on the fee. There was a time a few years ago where we hadn't updated our impact fees for many years.
Yeah.
But I think now the electrical one's been updated in the last couple of years. The sewer was done last year, I believe. These two have been in the works for a few years. We just hadn't finished them up. I would like the consultant to be able to talk with you over the concerns that Deanne had, and we were hoping he'd be here. It looks like he's on I-15 about 15 miles an hour. But so, I don't know how the council wants to deal with that. We've had the public hearing. If you want to table it until you can have him come and discuss it. I think the water impact fee, the last time it was analyzed, and Deanne pointed this out, we're appreciative of her that we left out a couple of projects that should have been in there. So our impact fee was, last time we brought it was 12, but she said that's lower than it was before with those projects. So we added those back in, and we actually need to move forward on those because we're in the design phase of trying to get those projects done. So if you feel comfortable with the water, I recommend you approve those. And if we want to discuss how the methodology on the parks, we are changing the methodology. We ought to have the consultant explain what he's doing and how he came up with the numbers and have a discussion on that.
Well, I don't know that I'm opposed to methodology, but if there's a transparency issue, that is something that concerns me. We want to make sure that we're transparent.
I don't know if there's a transparency issue. It's how they came up with the numbers, whether the 47 is just an estimate. And so, yeah, you guys need to be comfortable with that before you adopt anything.
And I know when they were going through the numbers, Mark Hyland worked closely with them to try to come up with the parks we knew costs on, the parks that we had no idea on, and some of them were assumed, you know, at a certain value. But, you know, when you go back 60 years or more, we don't have the records to prove that, but I know that was how those numbers were derived, was between the staff that works in those departments and, you know, and the consultants, so. I can't speak as much to that because that's, you know, Tracy and Mark and Carl's departments, not mine.
Well, and I know he did use current value to build this park. I mean, he states that in here, that, hey, here's what it would cost to build the park we have today. But others, Mark came up with specific numbers. Yes, this playground cost X, the sprinkler system was X. But on the land, it's an estimate from surrounding areas to get to that number.
So what do we do if we don't have a record and we want to go with historical values?
I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think they explained that, you know, which numbers they knew and which numbers were, assumed in there. So.
I'd be suggesting that we work on the water, get to the bottom one passed tonight, and then just table this one, because I don't think there's really any hurry to get it done. Then we can have the consultant come give us how he did it, and then everybody can see how he did it, so.
Okay. Do we need to,
Make a motion.
well, how hard is it to separate out the PI and the culinary? And how much extra work is that?
Well, the reason we combined them is because our budgets are now combined. We used to have a separate culinary and a separate pressure irrigation, so that was why we decided to combine the impact fees, because that's how our budget is. We don't have a separate budget for each one. And, you know, you have to spend the money on the project that's detailed in the report, so it's already spelled out which ones are culinary and which ones are pressure irrigation, so.
Okay.
I mean, I don't see that as an
Okay.
issue, because that's the only way we can spend the money anyway. So you can't just, you know, we couldn't take, let's say we had $10 million and we only had $6 million worth of pressure irrigation projects, we couldn't spend that extra $4 on the pressure irrigation because it's not in there. So I mean, I don't see that as a huge headache.
What's the workload difference? Does that make a big difference if it's all in the same budget? Not to put you on the spot, but.
It's hard to know, because they're together, so that's all I know. So I don't know what it would be like separate.
Okay.
So I can't answer that.
Okay. Okay, another comment? Okay, any motions?
I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2017-2018-3, adopting the 2018 Payson City Municipal Water Impact Fees, and that we also table the impact fee ordinance for Parks and Recreation.
That should be two separate motions, so
Sorry. I'll make the first motion then.
that's the table.
No, the first one was the adopt it, yep.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is this a this is a roll call vote? Okay, Councilwoman Hyatt.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, second motion.
And I'll make a motion that we table the Parks and Recreation impact fee.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call on this one as well.
Yes.
All starting with Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and I would make a recommendation that we continue to work with Deanne Hewish and make sure that she's been equitable to us, and make sure that we're equitable to the Home Builders Association.
Yeah, we're gonna shoot these one at a time.
We'll get there
We
eventually.
are now members, aren't we?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's the last item on the agenda, motion to adjourn.
I'd like
So-
to make the motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion